welcome back to the show. Excited to talk to our next guest because we have a movie star joining us, and I'm not talking about those, basic movies like the Brad Pitts and the Tom Cruise. This is a real movie star. Little Bear joined us alongside Brian Michael Stoller and Nancy Lynn Stoller, brother and sister. Welcome to the show, guys. Great to have you here.
Great to be here.
And Brian, this is a great story with Little Bear. You've got to take us back to the beginning and tell us, where did Little Bear come from?
Well, Bear is from California, from Los Angeles. I'll take these off for a minute. I got Bear almost 13 years ago, and I met somebody at a coffee shop, and they were looking for a good home for him, and it was just kind of fate. And a month after I had him, I got a phone call saying that he has an Aunt Nancy and an Uncle Ronnie, and it turned out it was Nancy and Ronald Reagan.
Oh.
You're kidding. So they were fostering Little Bear?
They had, the daughter Patty had found him and couldn't keep him because she had cats.
Okay.
And so she gave him to Nancy and Ronnie. Ronnie was bedridden at the time, and Bear was a kind of a wild puppy, and Nancy couldn't really handle him, even though the Secret Service were there.
You'd think, Nancy, with
help,
them there, yeah.
To help out. So, and so they gave it to a friend of Patty's that I just, again, fate, ran into at a coffee shop. And she didn't tell me his origins, so it was a real surprise a month later. And then that, because I'm a filmmaker, it inspired me to write and produce the movie First Dog, which was Bear's first starring role.
That's amazing. So how did he,
Bear, sit up.
How did he learn how to be an actor? Because there would have to have been a lot of training involved.
Well, that's the thing about Bear. He's very unique. I don't take a lot of credit for his training.
Okay.
Now, when he was a puppy and Nancy would come visit me in California, she did some initial training with him, being a trainer. But Bear is a really, really fast learner. He's a very unique dog breed. He's a Kaiken. Mm-hmm. It's a rare Japanese breed, and he just kept sort of auditioning for me. I guess knowing that I was a director, and then we even had a screen test for him for First Dog just to make sure he could do everything, and he just blew everybody away.
So tell us a little bit about First Dog. What is the premise of the film?
First Dog is about a foster boy, 10-year-old foster boy, who finds a lost dog and finds out that he actually belongs to the President of the United States.
Okay.
But nobody believes him, so he runs away from the foster home and goes on a cross-country adventure to return the dog to the White House. And Dolly Parton, who I've known for about 15 years, she loved the script, and I wanted her to play a part in the movie, but she was going on tour, and she couldn't do it, so she says, let me write you some songs. So
You're kidding.
She wrote three original songs for the movie. And Eric Roberts, Julie Roberts' brother, plays the president. And then also Willie Nelson's daughter, Paula Nelson, is in the movie, and there's a few songs by her on the soundtrack, and with her and Willie Nelson as well.
Fantastic.
That's fabulous.
So was he starstruck at all with?
No, they were more starstruck with him.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And Nancy Lynn, what was your introduction? Obviously, Brian introduced you to Little Bear, but tell us, what did you think of Little Bear? Especially being a dog trainer yourself, right? A professional dog trainer.
Well, I was actually apprehensive when he first got Bear because being a rescue, he had some issues, and we weren't sure what breed he was initially.
Right.
And he actually looked a little bit like he had pit and something else in him, and I said, Brian, you might have your hands full here. And in actual fact, the dog is always the easy part to train.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I did dog training for years. I had a bull terrier greyhound cross in Australia, and so he needed some training.
Yeah.
And that was the trainer's first comment. I'm actually training you.
Exactly.
The dog is going to be fine.
The dogs are typically the easy part.
What's the biggest challenge for a dog like Little Bear that's a rescue, that as a trainer do you have a different approach in that?
It depends.
Case?
One of the things that's the hard part is that we really don't know the story.
Right.
We don't know the full history, so we only know what either you're told by the rescue or what you've seen. You know, like I have one right now, the one that I brought on last time I was here, and his story is horrific. but I can only assume so much of what I've been told because I didn't see it. So you have to really tune into what the dog is capable of doing and be sensitive to the dog's demeanor and their temperament. And if you pay attention, they tell you pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You must have a cookie in your hand because
I
I just
do,
see him.
'cause
He's
Bear's-
little Bear is. I smell something over there.
I'm just giving Bear a little bit of a treat. Ready, Bear? Can I kiss? Baby, kiss.
No. Oh.
Aw.
Can you smile? Smile.
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 Closer.
'Cause I want to kiss.
Well, now he in the second film. This is the second one, which is
one.
the Amazing Wizard of Oz, and that one he actually talks, which I was dead impressed.
I loved it.
Right.
So yeah, how did you go about, Brian? Can you give us sort of the behind the scenes of how that works? Because we've all seen these movies where animals talk. How does it work exactly?
Well, what was interesting with this one was, you know, I had talked with some special effects people, and we were trying to figure out ways for Bear to talk, whether we were going to do it with him chewing food, but that didn't look quite right. And,
Okay.
and so I have a little background in animation, so I kind of, you know, sort of wanted to do the hands-on and try and do it myself. So I actually did a lot of the effects myself as well.
Okay.
Wow.
And it was just kind of fun to do it. It was, you know, it's not you know, Marvel, Avengers special effects, but you know, for the budget and everything, it worked, I think, pretty good.
Well, it seems like when I was watching the trailer, like it really does have that that Disney appeal, and
Yeah.
and I was very impressed by the production values being really. This is something I would imagine seeing on the Disney Channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I remember growing up. Remember, you saw
Yes.
every Sunday they had that movie, and that's what these two movies really reminded me of. The
Exactly.
family gathers,
Yeah.
and they watch a movie like this,
Yeah.
one of
I
those
love it.
feel-good films.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Disney actually, I sent over a screener to them, and they actually had requested, you know, some more information about the film to see if, you know, they're considering it for some of the Disney channels
Cool.
overseas as well. Ironically, it's really hard to sell. Being from Ottawa originally, it's really hard to sell movies in Canada if you're a Canadian filmmaker.
Yes.
You know, I'm sorry to say it, but
No,
Yeah.
you're not the first one to tell us that.
that's why I've stayed there. First Dog aired on Fox on Easter Sunday, two Easter Sundays ago. Amazing Wizard of Oz is on Redbox now, which is the kiosks.
Yeah. Oh,
it's
yes.
it's on Netflix in the States. First Dog did close to 500,000 rentals on Redbox.
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
And it's just, but then when I contact the Canadian distributors, it's like they don't even want to see it. It's
No,
so
you have
heavy.
to be big elsewhere before you can.
I don't understand
You
it.
know.
Yeah, yeah, and they don't. You know, in the States, everybody returns Bear's calls, but the Canadian distributors they don't return his calls.
On
Well,
behalf
that's
of
just
Little
rude.
Bear, we'd like to say that's not polite.
Not
That's not
polite.
very Canadian of you, Canadians.
Yeah.
Nancy, before we run out of time, I want to mention this heat.
Yes.
We've seen it time and time again. People are
Yes.
leaving their pets and particular dogs in their vehicles. It just can't be
Yeah.
done.
No, it's a really bad thing to do, and people don't realize that just the difference in the temperature of even if you sit in the car with the windows open and don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
The heat is incredibly, there's a good 10-15 degree difference if you're looking at outside on a day like this when it's this hot. One of the tips that I use though is to pay attention, and the big thing is your dogs usually will tell you when, you know, something's not right, that it's more about just paying attention.
Yeah.
So that if they're being a little lethargic, if they seem a little slow, if they don't seem just sort of right to you, you know, make sure they have lots of water. And one of the tricks I use is even when you're just taking them for a walk in this heat, the pavement can get so hot that it can actually burn their pads.
Really?
Of course.
So one of the tricks that I use is I'll use a cold cloth and like one of those freezer packs.
Yeah.
Okay, and dogs sweat through their paws and through their tongue, not their fur, not their skin. So if you think the dog's overheated in any way, shape, or form, make sure they have lots of water. And I'll take cold cloths or even ice cubes and just put them in my hands and put them under their paws so that it helps cool their temperature down really fast.
Yeah, great idea.
Same thing with their ears. That's
Okay.
that's where you see the temperature change. So that's a good little trick. If you think they're suffering from a little bit of heat,
Yeah.
that's a great trick to do, and you'll see a difference in the dog in a very quick period of time.
I remember the
Awesome.
latest media report was a gentleman left his dog and left his sunroof open. When he came back to the vehicle, he was quite upset because he said, well, I left the sunroof open. It's like being outside, you know,
Right.
It's the same temperature, and the police are like, it's not the same temperature.
No.
Not even close.
Well,
It-
I've seen
you sit in the car with your sunroof open and see.
and
right?
somebody
right.
did that and put it on
And
YouTube.
actually-
And they're like, okay, this is what it's like, and just talked through it, and talked about what it was like to sit in a car for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
Put it
Well-
up on YouTube. It said, this is what you're doing to your kids and your dogs.
Yeah.
good.
I mean,
glad.
for you,
you'd
yeah.
get arrested for doing that with your kids, right?
That's right.
Well,
So,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
actually they are starting to pass, I think, some laws and some really heavy fines for people that are doing that
Yeah.
or that forget to do
It's
that.
As
about
should.
time because
As they
we're
should.
Yeah.
way behind the times when it comes
Yeah.
to protecting animals in
Yeah.
this country.
Just put
and
on a fur
others.
coat, sit in your car,
Yeah.
open the sunroof,
Yeah.
and we'll be back to see how you're doing in about 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Or give the dog the keys to the car and let them drive around a little.
And well,
There
if
you
you
go.
have a dog like Little Bear, I'm sure he can drive.
Yeah.
I know we have an issue with distribution in Canada, but can people purchase these films online? Or?
I believe that Amazon, my distributor in the States, I believe that Amazon.ca has it now.
Okay.
Okay.
And it is on Rogers Video on Demand.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
And on Super Channel.
Terrific.
Perfect.
Brian, Nancy Lynn, thank you so much for joining us.
And
really
Bear.
appreciate it.
And
Little
Bear.
Bear,
And Bear.
thank
Yes.
you.
Here, say thank
Hey,
you.
Superstar.
Yeah.
Thanks
Hey,
for
thank
being
you.
here. Don't go away. We've got lots more daytime coming up right after this. Good boy.
Good boy, Bear. There you